What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. So the title says it, how to salvage a glued fitting. And a lot of you are probably wondering why you'd ever need to do such a thing. And in this video, I'll explain why it's a good thing to know how to do it and how to actually get it done. EKWB is a sponsor for this video, and I want to thank them for supporting my channel. Making good quality YouTube videos requires a high performance PC with premium quality parts. And EKWB specializes in water cooling components such as graphics card coolers, CPU coolers, and so much more. If you want to see all the goodies they have to offer, go visit them at ekwaterblocks.com. These tricks will save you money and get you out of a jam where many would be stranded with no solution. So first things first, why would you want to know how to remove a fitting from a pipe? There's a few reasons why. A good example is if a pipe was cut too short. It could be very handy to know how to deal with these types of situations. Also, these techniques are good if you have a pile of scrap pieces that you don't want to waste. It might be a good option to save them instead of throwing them out. So let's go through all the available methods together. There's 4 ways that I know of to get a pipe off a fitting or fitting off of a pipe, and they all have their respective pros and cons. Some are good indoors, some are not, some require power tools, and some no. So I'll be covering all of these as I go. The first method, which isn't really a trick, is to just get a pipe wrench and rotate it till it comes loose. This would only work if, let's say, the pipe was glued for an hour or two, or it would be too tough to remove. The second method, which is one of my favorites, is using a hole saw. This trick is probably the cleanest, least expensive, and most accessible way of getting it done. You must make sure to open some windows to ventilate the area, as this process releases gases which are bad for you. So pretty much every plumber or do-it-yourselfer has a basic set of hole saws, and this is why it's my favorite way of doing it. The idea is to choose a hole saw that fits perfectly or almost perfectly inside the pipe. It doesn't matter that much if there's a small gap in between, and you'll see why in a few seconds. When you found the right one, heat it thoroughly for around 1 minute and put it inside the pipe as such. What this does is it heats up the glue just enough for the pipe to unstick, and it only takes around 1 minute, so it's a pretty quick process. After around 1 minute, remove it and test it out. Get your needle nose pliers and try sticking them in between the pipe and fitting. If it's hot enough, they'll just separate and you'll be able to twist it out just like this. Pretty neat, right? Once it's removed, you then prime the fitting as usual and glue your new setup, making for a quick and easy repair. The downsides to this method is it only works on PVC. It releases harmful gases and it'll burn off the paint on your hole saw, so it might rust after doing this. Now let's go ahead and talk about our other options. The third method involves using a drill and a special tool called a socket saver or fitting saver. Check it out. This cool gadget is used in conjunction with a drill, and it basically drills out the glued pipe with minimal effort, and it's a lot safer than the previous method as it doesn't release any gases. What's fun about it is it could be used on any type of PVC and even ABS. There are also some cheaper versions that exist but aren't nearly as good as the more expensive model. The real question is though, how many times will you really be needing this tool in your whole career? That only you could answer. So basically, this right here is the guide which fits perfectly into the pipe, and right here is the cutter that cuts to the exact diameter of the fitting. You want to make sure you cut the pipe as close to the wall as possible to make it easier on yourself. So let's see how quickly and how effectively it works. And do make sure you have a fully charged battery when doing this. Alright, so as you could see, It was pretty darn easy to get it done, and it only took a little over 1 minute to get a smooth surface that's ready to be repiped. Now, this is in a perfect environment. If you were to try and do this in between two studs, for example, you wouldn't have enough space, so you'd have to go back to the first method with the hole saw. That's one of the downsides to this tool. Something else to consider is that these tools are quite costly. This particular model is $70 on Amazon at the time I'm filming this video, so it's no pocket change solution. The cheaper model is less than half the price at $26, which is a lot more affordable and does a very similar job. I just don't know how long it lasts compared to the Reed model, as it has a changeable cutter. What's nice too about the replaceable cutter is that it could be rotated, which adds to the longevity of the tool. And lastly, they are battery hungry. If you have a newer gen brushless drill, you should be fine. But older brushed model drills will suffer and might not even complete the job, so keep that in mind before buying one. And the last method, which is my least preferred way of doing it, is to cut out the pipe by hand. This method requires a lot of patience, time, and effort, but the advantages is it only requires a small saw and a flathead screwdriver. I did a full video on this previously, but I'll do another one just not to rerun an older clip. And plus, a little practice doesn't hurt. So just like the previous trick, you need quite a good amount of space to be able to saw through the pipe. The goal is to cut the pipe in 4/4 or more, depending on the size of the fitting you have. One cut at 12 o'clock, one at 3, one at 6, and one at 9 o'clock, and knock them out with a screwdriver. So here we go. So as you could see, it took quite a lot of effort to saw the pipe. And notice I didn't say saw through the pipe. If you saw through the pipe, you might nick the fitting and create a passage for the water or waste to pass, so make sure you leave a bit of meat on the pipe. Then, get your flathead screwdriver and gently pry off each quarter one by one as to not break or crack the fitting. And you should be left with a decently smooth finish that will allow you to upcycle it. The downsides to using this method are that it requires a good amount of space, just like the socket saver does. You need some good elbow grease as you're manually sawing and not using a power tool, and it takes a bit of time. Some other ways I wouldn't recommend doing is using a direct flame on the pipe. If you're doing this type of repair on a drainage system, for example, there will be sewage gases, also known as methane, which are highly combustible, so using a direct flame for this would be dangerous. Another known method is using a heat gun. The problem with using a heat gun is that you aren't only heating the pipe, you're also heating the fitting and its surroundings, which you don't want to do. The goal is to only get the pipe hot enough and not the fitting, since we're keeping it. And the last method that I would suggest never doing is setting the pipe on fire. Yep, you heard right. It involves taking some primer and setting it on fire to heat up the pipe several times. And it's very, very harmful. So take my advice and only use the methods I showed you to get it done. And there you have it. 4 different ways to salvage and reuse a plastic fitting. These tricks are great when working on drains, spas, or even irrigation systems, and as always, all the tools I used in this video will be linked below for those of you that are interested. I hope this guide was helpful to you, and if it was, please give the video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.